One of our upcoming projects is a 92 Acura Integra that we're putting a B16 in. And the B16 actually, when it goes in a 92 Integra, requires a specific block bracket. So I thought that was a perfect time to explain to you the differences between the four different block brackets and what their application is. So I have here today the one that comes on the early style B16, the one comes on the B16 in the Civic, and the one that comes on the B18 in the Integra. So let's talk about how they're all actually used. Okay, to start with, all three of the brackets share the same bolt pattern on the back side. So they'll all bolt up to the B series engine, whether it's a B16A, B, B18C, BA, or a B20 that comes in the CRV. All these brackets will bolt up to that particular block. Whether or not they bolt to the B20 that comes in the Prelude, I'm not really sure, but we're not really concerned about that. Now, I did say there was a fourth bracket, and that one is the one that comes on the CRV. It looks very similar to this, but this surface is actually quite a bit taller. The frame rails, in relationship to the rear subframe in a CRV, the engine sits quite a bit lower. So that's why the difference in this block side bracket. But like I said, we're not going to worry about that right now. If you're doing a swap, like B18C swap in your CRV, you're going to need to use the CRV block bracket. All right, now, first off, this particular one is going to be used in the DA Integra. It's also going to be used in the EF Civic, and it's the same one that comes in the SiR Civics from 89 to 91. The mount that pairs up with it, this is actually for a 9091 Civic, same one that comes in the SiR. Usually you have a stud right here, or you can use a bolt, and on this side right here, there's a bolt that threads in through the bottom. So it looks like that. So put a nut up on top of that, or most of the mounts, stock mounts, actually have a threaded front bolt hole. Now, if you're doing an 88 to 91 Civic swap, like you have an American version or a car that came with a single overhead cam, you're gonna have to use a swap mount. That's what this is right here. This is the swap mount. Again, you can see how it lines up nicely. On this particular bolt, doesn't matter whether you come in from the top or the bottom, basically you're going to need, it's not a threaded hole, so you're going to need a bolt with a nut. So that mates up just like that in that car. The next bracket we have here is typically a Civic specific bracket. If you were in Japan and bought a 92-5 SiR, or you're in the US and bought a 94 to 97 Del Sol VTEC, this is the block bracket that comes on that engine. It pairs up with what a lot of people call the 2-bolt left-hand mount. That's how it sits like that. You'll notice, by the way, the orientation really isn't the same. On the one that comes in the Integra and the Civic, it's shifted quite a bit farther forward. It's also a little bit longer. One other thing is the angles aren't the same. If you were to take them both and put them flat, one of them has a little bit of more of a kick to it than the other one does. And the mounts actually reflect that. If you look at the bottom of this mount, it's pretty much parallel with the bottom of the bottom of the mount. The mounting surface is parallel with the bottom of the mount. If you look at both the DA and the Civic, it's notice how there's that little angle to it. By the way, when we did the swap mounts, we went ahead and made it parallel and flat with it. That changed the angle of the motor a little bit, actually gave us a better axle angle. All right, so back to the 92 to 5 Civic. This is the one you would use usually in a 92 to 5 Civic if it has the 2-bolt mount. Again, it's also the one you would use in an EK Civic, a 96 to 2000 Civic. That stock mount, that pillow mount that sits on the frame rail, has a bracket that comes off with just 2 bolt holes. Usually when you look at this block bracket, it has 2 studs sticking out of it, and that bracket bolts right down to it. Also the 2-bolt mounts that come in the 925 Civics, they'll bolt with it as well. Some of the Civics, by the way, came with a 3-bolt mount. Those are usually VTEC models. Probably had to do with where in Japan those particular cars are manufactured. If you've got 3-bolt mounts on your car, you may want to use this block bracket. This is called a P72 Block Bracket. It's the same one that comes in the Integra. It's got 3 bolt holes. So those bolt holes line up like this. They're actually 10 millimeter, not 12 millimeter also. If you buy the Hasport mount, we actually have countersunk Allen screws for a little bit cleaner look that goes with that. But that mounts up like that, and it can be used in a 925 Civic. You just need to get this mount instead of the 2-bolt mount. Now on the 96 to 2000, if you're not using stock mounts, if you're using Hasport mounts, we actually have a bracket that bolts in place of where the mount usually went, and that allows you to use either the 2-bolt or 3-bolt mounts. They both mount in the same position on that car, and then you can choose which block bracket you want to use. Now the ones that come on Honda, by the way, aren't billet aluminum, but these are basically just copies of what the factory mount looks like. The only difference is they're in billet aluminum, because sometimes people want to have a particular look and billet is what they're after. So that should just about cover it for this particular mounts. Block brackets. By the way, if you have a tech question that's bothering you, go ahead and put it down in the comment section below, and we'll see if we can't do a quick tip on that as well. Anyway guys, thank you very much for joining me. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing and hit the like button. That helps bring us to more people. Anyway, we'll talk to you later. Thanks.